Hello children, how are you all? I hope you all are doing well. So today we will learn about diversity in the living world, that is for animals, okay? So children, as in the last chapter, we studied about diversity in the living world of plants, right? So today in this chapter we will learn about the animals, okay? So what are the various animals that are around us, right? We'll learn about the diversity in the animals that are around us. Then we will see the grouping of animals, how we group these diverse animals based on different features, right? And how these animals differ with respect to their surrounding, with respect to their habitats and adaptations. So let's get started. Just as plants show a wide range of diversity, animals also exhibit a remarkable diversity, right? There are numerous species of animals, each with unique characteristics and adaptation, from mammals and birds to reptiles and insects, right? Each group contribute to the richness of life. And this diversity allow ecosystem to function properly as different animals play specific role. So studying animal diversity helps us to understand the intricate relationship within nature. So children, just like plants have a lot of diversity, animals also have similar range of diversity, right? They are also of very different kind. They have different species and they get adapted to according to their habitat and the environment, right? So there are so many mammals, birds, reptiles, insects, and they differ with respect to their size and many other features, and this all contribute to the richness of life, right? So understanding this ecosystem, right, this intricate ecosystem contributed by the animal kingdom is very important, right? That is why we can understand their relationship within the nature, right? Only then we can appreciate their existence within nature, right? So let's get more into it. Diversity in animals around Earth. So animals are crucial to our environment, right? With over 8.7 million species showcasing incredible diversity. So animals are all around us in our environment, wherever we are living. Somewhere we see insects, then ants, spiders, birds, right? And they are like so many. They are like over 8.7 million species, right? So they range from tiny insects to a large mammals, each with unique feature like colorful feathers and varied body shapes. This animal diversity enriches our world and provides essential services like pollination and environmental balance. Each species play a vital role in nature. Let's explore diversity in the animal world with an outdoor activity. So before this, students, this diversity of animals, this is so much important. Each and every important, be it an ant or even a microorganism, plays a very important role in balancing this whole ecosystem, right? Be it like pollinating the flower or keeping some balance in the aquatic life, right? Each and every animal plays a very important role. So let's understand this variety, this diversity in animal world through an outdoor activity. So let's do this. So to observe and record the diversity of animal around us, noting their habitats, diets, modes of movement, and many other notable features. Okay, so we will identify features like habitat, their diet, what they eat, right? What kind of movement they show, right? Where they live. So these are notable features. So what you have to do is take a walk in a nearby park or a garden or neighborhood. Observe the animals you encounter and note down their characteristics. Record your observation in the table provided. So just go outside in a park or maybe in a forest if you have there, and just note down the characteristics based on these things, based on this table, and observe these things in the animal that you encounter, right? So for example, note down your observation like the name of the animal, maybe the local name you would know, place where they live, right? What kind of food they eat, the way they move, right? And any other observation or any feature that you noticed, okay? So this activity will help you to understand the variety of animals that we see around us, okay, and it will help in learning about where these animals live and what they eat, how they move. So let's now go to the next page. So after like knowing these animals, we will group these animals. So let's understand this grouping, okay. So just like plants, animals too are significantly different from one another. We can group animals based on their similarities and differences. The features for grouping many include what they eat, where they live, what color they are, and how they move, okay. So just like plant, we categorize them in different groups based on some particular similarity, right. Similarly, we will do this in animals also based on certain similarities. For example, animals living in certain areas, or animal having 4 legs, or animals eating particular kind of food. We will categorize them, group them based on these kind of features, okay. So this will help us to understand them more in a much better way, right. This will help us to understand them, compare them, and know more about them. So understanding these features help us classify animals and learn more about their diverse lifestyles and adaptations, right. So let's begin with that. Animals based on movement, okay. So first characterization that we will do is based on their movement, how they move. So animals demonstrate a variety of movement, including like some are flying, some are running animals, some crawl, some walk, hop, or jump. So they utilize different body parts for these movements, such as wings, legs, and other specialized structures to move from one place to another. We can identify animals based on these movements and the body parts they use. Animals also differ in shape, size, structure, color, and other features, which can also be used to categorize them. Like plants grouping animals is essential for understanding their diversity. So for animals, we will categorize them based on their movement, right. For example, if we talk about the birds, they use their wings to fly. Some run, some crawl, some walk, some hop, and some jump, right. So we can identify animals based on these movements, and then we will identify the body parts also that they are using for these kind of movement. So just look at this table, and these are the type of movements, okay, like flying, gliding, walking or running, crawling, hopping or jumping, and swimming. So these animals, for example, flying animals, these are animals that move through the air using wings, are classified as flying animals, okay. So this is the description they are providing. For example, how will we decide which animal is flying and which is not, right. So this is the description. Now for example, birds, bats, butterflies, bees, right, these all are flying animals. If we talk about the gliding, what is gliding? So animals that move by gliding through the air use specialized body parts for this purpose, right. Here the animal was using their wings. Here they are using their specialized body parts, right. And for example, flying squirrel, gliding lizard, right, they don't have wings, but they have specialized body parts. Now walking and running, animals that move on land using legs are categorized as walking or running animals. So for example, who walk using their legs, like dogs, cats, humans, and horses. So humans are also included in this category. Now if we talk about crawling, right. So what is crawling? Animals that move by sliding along the ground without lifting their body are known as crawling animals. So when we don't lift our bodies, right, slide along the ground, it's called crawling, like snake and earthworm, okay. Next movement, like hopping or jumping. So animals that move by jumping or hopping, often using strong hind legs, are classified as hopping or jumping, okay. So basically they use their hind legs, okay, hind legs, for moving, basically jumping and hopping. For example, frogs, kangaroos, rabbits, okay. Now swimming. So animals that move in water using fins or flippers are referred to as swimming animals. So for example, fish, dolphin, turtles have flippers, okay. So these are the types of animals based on their movement pattern. Now let's do an activity to see how different animal move using their body parts. Okay, so watch animals like birds, frogs and cats, and these are the animals that you can all easily see around you. Notice how they move by flying, hopping, running or crawling, and record the body parts they are using. So birds, you will observe that birds use their wings, right, to fly, and frogs use their legs to hop and swim, and cats use their legs to run and walk, and with claws for climbing, right? So this will tell us that animals use different body parts to move. Birds have wings, frogs have strong legs, and cats have legs and claws, and these features help them to move well in their homes. So see, for different kind of movement there is a specialized part. If a bird has to fly, there has to be wings, there has to be light body, right? So these are all the features, these are all the adaptation that happens in an animal because of certain movement, right? Similarly, frogs use their legs to hop and swim. So for example, frogs have strong legs. Okay, you will realize that frogs have strong legs. Now cats use their legs to run and walk, and they have claws for climbing. So basically now we understood that these types of animals you have different kind of body parts to do their movement. Now let's go to the next page. So now let's understand different category, that is animals based on food habits. So animals can be grouped what they eat, right? Different animals eat different things. For example, herbivores eat only plants, carnivores eat only meat, and omnivores eat both plants and meat. So basically there are three categories, okay? Majorly herbivores, carnivores and omnivores. So herbivores eat only plants, right? So in layman terms you can say that they are vegetarian. Carnivores only eat meat, you can say that they are non-vegetarian, and omnivores eat both, okay? So some animals like specialized feeders like insectivores that eat insects, and detrivores that consumes dead matter, and frugivores that mainly eat fruits, okay? So these are basically different categories. Let's understand the types of animal based on these food categories, these food habits. So food habit like herbivore, carnivore, omnivore, scavengers and decomposers. So we understood about these three: only plant eater, meat eater and both plant and meat eater. What are scavengers? Scavengers are animals that feed on the dead animals. They don't kill their animals on their own, rather they eat the already dead animal. And decomposers are those organisms that break down dead organisms and waste. For example, we found decomposers in soil, right? So the examples of herbivore are cow, deers, rabbit, and they eat grass, leaves and fruit. Carnivores like lions, wolves, eagle eat other animals, right? They eat other animals. Now omnivores are, for example, bear, humans, cockroach, dog. They eat both plant, meat, fruits and insects. Now scavengers are vultures, hyenas and crows. They only eat dead animals, okay? And decomposers like earthworms, fungi, bacteria eat dead plants, animals and organic matter, okay? Now let's understand the animals based on their habitat. So the place where they live. A habitat is the natural environment where an animal lives and finds foods. So it includes things like the type of land, water and plants that surround them. Different animals need different habitats to survive. Therefore, they can also be classified based on the habitat in different types as given in the table. So students, since all animals live in different places, right, based on the type of food they eat, based on the type of environment they live in, right, and they are adapted to that environment. So these things include like the type of land, the water, the plants that surround them, okay, and based on these different habitats, they are divided. For example, let's talk about their habitat. So, terrestrial habitat, okay, like the forest, desert, grassland. Terrestrial means basically land, okay, land. So, these are animals that live on land, are called terrestrial animals, and they can be found in various environments such as forest, grasslands, desert, right. These are all the examples of different kind of habitat present on the land, okay. Somewhere there is very much water, somewhere there is so much no water or very less water, right. Somewhere there is a good amount of food to eat, for example in forest, okay. So, these are different types of habitat. So, examples are lions, elephants, ants, giraffe, zebras. Now comes the aquatic habitat. So, like river, lakes, ponds, seas and oceans. And these are the animals that live in water are known as aquatic animals. They inhabit environments like oceans, rivers and lakes, okay. So, these animals always live under the water, like fish, dolphin, frogs, jellyfish, sea turtle, right. So, frog and sea turtle sometimes do come on the land, but mostly they live in the water or near the water. Now, arboreal habitat, like for example tree, branches, who lives on the tree. So, these animals that live in tree are called arboreal animals, and they primarily reside in forest canopies and on tree branches. So, these animals like monkeys, koalas, chameleon, sloths, tree frogs, they will be only found in the area, in the forest, because they live in the tree, right, they live in the tree. Now, let's go to the next page. Now comes the aerial habitat. So, what is aerial? The air. So, like sky, open air. So, these animals that spend most of their time flying are known as the aerial animals, and they are found in the sky and open air. Yes, they do make their nest, they do take rest somewhere, but mostly they are flying, okay. So, like birds, bats, insects, flying squirrels and hawks, okay. So, these were the animals based on their various habitats. Now, let's understand about the differences between terrestrial and aquatic animals, aquatic habitat. So, terrestrial habitat are the land based environments such as forest and desert, okay. So, any land based environment, any environment related to the land, okay. It could be forest, desert, grasslands, right. And aquatic habitat means the water based environment like the river, pond, sea and ocean. Terrestrial habitat, the temperature in these kind of habitats can vary greatly from hot desert to cold mountains, okay. So, since I told you about the kind of temperature, for example, in some places there would be so much rain, in some places there would be almost no water, like in deserts, okay. So, the temperature basically vary greatly here, but if in case of aquatic habitat generally have a more stable temperature but can vary with depth, okay. The temperature is relatively stable, but the depth of water can vary. Animals like in terrestrial habitats breathe oxygen available from the air, okay. So, since it is talking about the land, the oxygen is taken from the air, but in the aquatic habitat animals live in the water and they breathe oxygen dissolved in the air. So, aquatic habitat include dogs, cows, lion, elephant and camels, whereas aquatic animals are fish, crabs, ducks, dolphins and whales. Do you know Salim Ali was renowned ornithologist. Who is an ornithologist? A person who study birds. He documented India's bird diversity and worked to conserve important bird habitats. He wrote a series of 10 books in Indian birds and was honored with Padma Vibhushan in 1976. Okay, so he was renowned ornithologist. Okay, he studied birds in a great detail and wrote his findings in his 10 books, right? Later he was also honored Padma Vibhushan in 1976, okay? Now let's understand animals based on their surroundings, okay? So we have learned about different habitat in earlier chapter, right? And also classified them based in their habitat. Now let us know how the animals show adaptation to their habitat. So by this time we are well versed that the animals, just like plants also, adapt to their environment. Animals do adapt to their environment. So let's understand their adaptations. So there are ways to adapt in animals, okay? How do animals adapt? So adaptation is the ability of a living thing to survive in a particular habitat by modifying its structure or behavior, okay? So it is the ability, okay? Adaptation is the ability of the living thing to change itself according to the environment, to change its behavior, to modify it, okay, according to the external environment. So living things have special features that help them find food, stay safe, build homes and withstand weather. And they show adaptation in the following ways. So they have special features to do all their essential things like building homes, staying somewhere, searching for foods, making their places, right? So they adapt, they show adaptation in different ways, like change in body features. So plants and animals develop specific body features to survive in their environment, right? They develop specific body feature. Change in behavior. Some animals, like those that hibernate, reduce their activity and sleep through extreme condition. So they change their behavior according to the external environment. If there is, for example, if there is very cold, right, outside, some animals hibernate on those cold months, okay? They reduce their activity and sleep during those months. Now let's go to the next page. Shifting location. So animals such as fish and birds migrate to find better condition and return in same place when conditions are improved. So they also shift location. This is also a kind of adaptation. They are adapting. So therefore they are migrating to other place for better food, better condition, and when the conditions are improved in their home place, they come back. Now adaptation to terrestrial habitat. Land-based habitat, how that kind of adaptation looks like. So the animals living in terrestrial habitat develop various features of adaptation, like animals in forest habitat. Let's talk about the forest animals. So animals living in forest habitat show these adaptation, like tree frogs and chameleons bend in with leaves and tree bark to hide from predators. This is known as camouflaging, okay? So the tree frog, okay, the tree frog and the chameleon bend in the leaves, okay? They have very similar color, okay? They have just like this. Can you just see this frog? It has green color, and chameleon have a color of leaf, sometimes of the bark of the tree. So they bend around the tree, right? They fold themselves in the leaf, hiding themselves from their predator, right? This bending, this ability of blending themselves with the background, with the tree, with the bark of the tree, is the adaptation. Now fruit bats eat fruits, okay, and caterpillars feed on specific types of leaves in the forest, okay? So here fruit bats, right, they are eating fruits, and caterpillars feed on specific types of leaves in the forest. Now monkeys and squirrels have strong limbs and tails to move around in trees and find food. So since they are living in the forest, right, and in the forest there's mostly trees, okay? So the monkey goes from one tree to another tree, and for this they have strong limbs. They have developed strong limbs and tails to move around the tree, right, and also search for the food. Sloths move slowly and have long limbs to stay hidden. While haulers, monkeys use their tails to swing on branches of the trees. See here, the sloths move slowly, okay, and therefore they have long limbs so that they can stay hidden in a particular tree in a position, okay. So these are the different kind of adaptation the forest animals show. Now let's talk about the grassland animals. So several animals live in grassland habitat and they show different kind of adaptation. So grassland is an area where there is less number of trees and mostly it has grasses, right, and the level of water is also less there. So cheetah and deer have evolved to run fast for escaping predators and covering large distances. See, this is the place where there is no place for hiding, right, since trees are not there. It is very there in grassland there is very less number of trees, mostly there are grasses, okay. So deer cannot find any place to hide itself from the predator like cheetah, so they have evolved to run faster, okay. Zebras and field mice have coloration that blends with the grass to avoid detection, okay. So since in grassland it is mostly there are mostly grasses, zebras and field mice have color of their body that blends with the background of that place, that is the grass, right, so that they can avoid detection from their predator. Now monarch butterflies, they migrate long distances to reproduce and find food, okay. So they go to different places to reproduce and find better food. Now elephant moves across grasslands and forests using its size and strength to eat food, okay. So then elephant moves across the grassland, right, using its size and strength to eat food. Since it has a huge size, right, it has comparatively more strength, okay, to find its food. The great Indian bustard is a large bird that lives in grassland and it is known for its unique look and prefers staying on the ground, okay. So here is the great Indian bustard. So this bird lives in grassland and it prefers staying on the ground because of its unique look. Now let's understand about this sacred grove in Western Ghat. So this sacred groves are protected forest areas of varying sizes found throughout India. They shelter diverse plant, animals and medicinal herbs. Local communities safeguard these groves by prohibiting harm to wildlife, tree cutting or disturbance, making them valuable treasure for biodiversity. So across India, throughout India, we have these sacred groves, okay, sacred groves in the Western Ghats mainly, and these groves basically they shelter diversity of plants, right, diversity of plants and animals, and they have a huge amount of medicinal herbs. Since this is so ecologically and important for humans, the local communities who live there safeguard these places by prohibiting any harm that people can cause to the wildlife or like cut the trees. So here the local communities are playing the key role, right. Now let's understand the animals in the desert habitat and how they have adapted themselves. So desert are hot and dry environment, as you all know, and common animals in desert include the camel, kangaroo rat, Gila monster, spadefoot toad, rattlesnake and various insects. Common desert plants are cacti, acacia and some bushes. Among these, the camel is a well-known example of desert adaptation. It shows following features for adaptation. So since desert is a very harsh climate, desert so very harsh climate like hot and dry environment, and we all know that the common animals we talk about generally is the camel, right, and the rattlesnake, the toad, these things. So let's understand how they have adapted to this environment. So they have long eyelashes and thick eyebrows protect their eyes from sand and the sun. So in the desert, due to the sand, the storm keeps on coming, right? When the air blows, the sand also moves with it. So therefore the animals living there have long eyelashes, have thick eyebrows, and this protect their eyes from any kind of dust and from the sun also. Now let's go to the next page. Nostrils can close to prevent sand from the entering, right? Like we have nostrils, right? But it cannot close itself to prevent anything from entering into, right? But these animals have nostrils that can close to prevent any sand coming inside. Now they have hair inside their ears, keep out sand and the dust. Okay, so they also have hair inside their ear that keeps the sand and the dust outside. Okay, camels can go for a week or move without water and several months without food, right? So if we talk about camel have hump, right? And they can store food and water in it and can stay without it for several months. So this is again an adaptation to the extreme climate of the desert. They store fat in their humps. They have fat in this hump. Wide feet help them walk easily on the sand. They have this kind wide type of foot, right? This helps them to walk easily on the sand. Thick lips allow them to eat prickly desert plants without discomfort. So as you know that in desert there are mostly cactus, right? And other plants also have thorns and bushes. So these animals have thick lips, right? And these thick lips allow them to eat those thorny bushes easily, okay, without any discomfort. Do you know, students, in desert food is scarce. So camels store it in their humps. Hot desert camels have one hump while the cold desert camels have two humps. The two humps shrink in winter as food is used up. Additionally, camels in cold desert like Ladakh grow long hair to stay warm during the cold winter. So see, in the hot desert they have hump, right? Just like this, and this store their food, right, for the whole summer thing. But if we talk about the cold desert, the camels in the cold desert have two humps, okay, and in the winters one of these hump get shrinked because of the food, right? The food in the winter gets used up. Now additionally, the camels that live in the Ladakh region, right, they have long hairs just like this, right? This helps them to stay warmer on those cold desert. Now let's understand the adaptations to aquatic habitat. Okay, so the aquatic habitat include river, lake, pond, seas and oceans. Animals that live in water are called the aquatic animals, which includes seas, fish, octopus, whales and crabs. And these animals inhabit both freshwater and marine environment. Fish, for example, have several adaptations for living in water. So see, these animals, especially fish, right, they live in different kind of waters like fresh water, then they also live in marine environment, lakes, right? So to us these all appears as a one, right? We think that they are living in the water, but even water is also different at different places, so they have different kind of adaptation. So let's say fish have a streamline shape that reduce water resistance and allow for fast swimming. So they have this kind of streamline, right? This kind of streamline shape that reduces any kind of resistance from the water, right? Water can easily flow through the fish and allow fast swimming. This also allow fish to swim quickly fastly. They use fins, paired and unpaired, and a tail for swimming and maintaining balance. So they have fins, right? Along with the body also they have fins and tails to maintain a balance while they swim. Waterproof scales cover their bodies, protecting them from water effects. Okay, so these scales, right, they have scales on their body which is slippery, right, which has a slippery texture, and this protects them from any kind of water effects. Gills are used for breathing, right? So they have different mechanism for breathing. They have gills, and they have feathery structure called these gills filament that facilitate gas exchange along fish to extract oxygen from the water. So they have this gill filaments and gill so that they can breathe in oxygen from the water. This organ helps fish float by adjusting the amount of air inside, adding to the buoyancy control, right? So this also helps fish to float, right? Maintain its balance and adjust the amount of air that is inside the fish, that helps in the buoyancy and maintaining control. Now, what are other adaptations in the aquatic animals? So, some animals show following adaptation in aquatic animals. Dolphins and whales, for example, they have blowholes on the top of their heads and come to the surface to breathe air. Have you seen any dolphins or whales in a photo or in a video? They have this kind of structure, right, on their tops, right? This helps them to come to the surface and breathe air. Ducks, for example, they have webbed feet for swimming and hollow bones to stay afloat. So they have webbed feet, right? Webbed feet and hollow bones that provide them less weight, right? And therefore they can float on the water. Octopus and squirrels, squids, for examples, they do not have streamlined bodies but can shape themselves for efficient movement when chasing prey, right? For example, these animals, they don't have a streamlined body, as you can see also, right? But their body can change shape, right? They can adjust their body according to the environment so that they can efficiently move when they are chasing their prey. Now let's go to the next page. So adaptation to mountain habitat. Now what about the mountain habitat? So mountain habitat are high and steep. Okay, so there are high and steep. Okay, with cold temperature. Common mountain animals include the mountain goat, yak, snow leopard, Himalaya thar, red panda, Himalayan monal, blue sheep and Indian ibex. The features of adaptation in common mountain animals are as follows. So students, in mountains, firstly the temperature is very low, right? And the height is also the factor that determines these adaptations. So for example, in mountain goat, we see it has strong hooves which helps it running in the rocky mountains. So they have strong hooves because of which they can run in the mountains, right? It has long hair to protect it from the cold and keep warm. So again, it has long hair for the cold environment, right? Now its white coat helps it hiding from its enemies by blending with surrounding environment, right? It also has white coat just like this, basically white feathers, which helps it hide itself from the prey, right? Now its sharp front teeth can easily grab grasses. It has also sharp front teeth, right? So these were the adaptation that mountain goat has. What about yak? So it has thick coat of hair to get protection from cold. So yak has thick coat of hair so that it can protect itself from the harsh temperature. Snow leopard, it has thick hair of fur on its body including feet and toes to protect it from extreme cold. Snow leopard has what? Thick layer of body fur, right? So any animal, most animals living in the cold regions, you will find they have a body fur, okay, thick body fur to provide them protection from the extreme cold, okay, and they also have feet and toes that protect it from extreme cold. Now, adaptation in aerial animals. So, animals living in the air, right? So, aerial habitat in an environment high in the air or treetops where animals and plants live. So, for example, birds, bats and insects, right? And birds are common aerial animals that show following adaptation. So, any animal which fly in the air, right, definitely needs to be adapted to the conditions of the air, right? For example, dog cannot fly, right? So, why birds can fly? So, birds have a streamlined body with a forward stretched neck, pointed head and a narrowed tail to provide a body sleek shape. So, students, they have a particular streamlined forward stretched neck, pointed head, narrowed tail, right? Can you see this? They have very particular kind of shape, okay, that allow the movement through the air. Their forelimbs are modified into wings with reduced fingers and long flight feathers along the entire length. So, they have feathers also, okay. So, they have feathers and these forelimbs, right. So, basically you can say forelimbs as hands. Their hands are modified into the wings that help them to fly. Tail feather helps slow down speed and aid in steering. So, their tail act as a steering, right. This helps them to firstly change the direction and also slow down the speed. Flight feathers are strong, okay. So, they have flight feather and which are very strong, and birds have powerful enlarged breast muscles, okay. So, they have this strong breast muscles also. Now, birds have following features to stay lightweight. So, they need to be lightweight also. So, accordingly they have adapted. How? Bones, right? Their bones contain air cavities. Their bones are hollow, not filled, just like human beings. And they require much less water in their bodies, right? Just like human beings, we require 70% of water, right, in our bodies, but they require very less of the water. Birds excrete solid urine instead of urea, which requires less water, okay. So, the excretion is also water, in the excretion also there is no water, right. Their lungs have air sacs to increase breathing efficiency and reduce body weight, right. So, their lungs are also adapted to the environment. How? They have air sacs to increase breathing efficiency and reduced body weight, okay. Now, let's talk about the amphibians, how amphibians show adaptation. So, amphibians are the animals that live both in water and land, okay. So, they need to be adapted both for the both for the water, that is aquatic habitat, and the land habitat. So, they usually start their lives in water as larvae like tadpoles, and later they grow into the adults on the land. Now, let's go to the next page. So, these animals generally start their life in the water, then they move to the land during their adult time. So, the adult can live on the land but still need water for reproduction, okay. So, they need to be adapted to both the habitat, water as well as land. So, examples of amphibians are frogs, toads, salamanders, and frogs give eggs in the water or nearby water, but mainly lives on the land. So, these are some adaptations, like frogs have moist, permeable skin to help with breathing and staying hydrated, right. So, they have very slimy, moist skin that can help them breathe, okay. So, they breathe through their skin, right, and this skin also keep them hydrated. Their webbed feet are adapted for swimming in water. So, just like duck, they have webbed feet, okay. Strong long legs allow for powerful jump and quick movement on land. So, in water they have webbed feet, but for land they have long legs and powerful legs also, so that they can jump. they can move. Frog lay eggs in water where the eggs hatch into larvae before developing into adults, right? So they have the ability to lay their eggs in water, okay? So they have keen sense of hearing and sight, keeping them detect predators and prey. So they have very good sense of hearing also, okay? So let's summarize this chapter and see what we have learnt. So first the keywords. Habitat. So the living place of plant or any animal in natural environment. Adaptation. Features that help a living organisms to survive in its habitat. Gliding. Moving smoothly through the air without flapping wings like flying squirrel or some birds. Camouflaging. Blending in with the surrounding to avoid detection by predators or prey. Streamlined body. A body shape that reduces resistance, making movement through water or air more efficient. Amphibians. Animals that live both in water and on land like frogs and salamanders. So let's summarize this chapter, what we have read in this chapter. So we can group animals based on their similarities and differences. The features for grouping may include what they eat, where they live, what color they are, and how they move. Animals demonstrate a variety of movements including flying, running, crawling, walking, hopping and jumping. Animals can be grouped by what they eat, like herbivores eat only plants, carnivores eat only meat, omnivores eat both plants and meat. Different animals need different habitat to survive and thrive. Adaptation is the ability of a living thing to survive in a particular habitat by modifying its structure or behavior. So we saw different kind of animals adapting to their different kind of habitat. For example, terrestrial habitat include forest, grassland and desert, where the aquatic habitat include river, lakes, ponds, seas and oceans. Aquatic habitat consists of river, pond, lakes, seas and ocean, whereas an aerial habitat is an environment high in the air or tree tops where animals and plants live. So amphibians are the animals that live both in water and land, and they usually start their lives in water as larvae like tadpoles and later grow in the adult. So I hope this chapter is clear to you now, and so based on the understanding from this chapter you have to revise and do the rest of the exercise in your homework.